Well, let's get to our conversation as we stay with the death of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. The organized private sector has described late president as a reform-minded leader whose administration pursued long overdue structural changes with strategic patience and political courage amidst difficult economic and global challenges. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria stated this in separate tributes following the announcement of late President Buhari's death on Monday at the age of 82. Director General of the LCCI, Dr. Chinere Amona, noted that the former president led the country through turbulent global and domestic headwinds, including oil price crashes, recessions, the COVID-19 pandemic, and security upheaval, but still prioritized key reforms in governance and economy. Dr. Amona again said President Buhari, late president, leaves a legacy defined by a deep commitment to fighting corruption, blocking revenue leakages, fighting insurgency, structural reforms, and infrastructure development. She described the enactment of the Petroleum Industry Act in 2021 as one of the most consequential policies breakthroughs of the Buhari administration, ending nearly 2 decades of legislative inertia in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. The PIA introduced a modern regulatory framework, restructured national oil institutions, and created equity-based development funds for host communities. The LCCI lauded the signing of Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, which it said simplified corporate process, enabled single-member companies, and introduced governance transparency through beneficial ownership disclosures. My guest is the Chief Executive Officer of Economic Associates, Dr. Teriba, to dig deep into some economic policies, some notable actions of the late President Muhammadu Buhari. Thank you so much, Dr. Teriba. Thank you for joining the program this afternoon. It's really good to see you.
Thank you very much, Tolu. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Teriba. I think we should start with this statement from the LCCI talking about recession, COVID-19, and some of the challenges faced by the then late President Buhari's administration. What do you make of all of these challenges and how Nigeria was able to come out of the recession and, of course, the challenge of COVID-19? Before we go into some specific policies instituted by his administration at that time.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Tolu. May the soul of President Muhammadu Buhari rest in peace. I commiserate with his family and the generality of Nigerians. President Buhari occupied a pride of place in the heart of Nigerians. We were all a part of the campaign that brought him back in 2014, 2015, when he adopted the mantra, change, to unseat the then regime of the People's Democratic Party through the new coalition of the APC. General Buhari was branded as the man to bring change to Nigeria. It was a one-word slogan, change, and he won. And people expected a lot of change. You have already alluded to some global economic adversities, which was the
Dr. Teriba, can you hear me? We cannot see your video.
Collapse of commodity prices that started under
Dr. Teriba, if you can hear me, can you hear me?
Inflicted recession on Nigerians, the change mantra. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, but we cannot see you.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, but we cannot see you.
I'm saying that the collapse of the commodity prices,
let's take a break. Let's go on a break, Dr. Teriba. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. Dr. Teriba, CEO, Economic Associates there, looking at some economic policies of late President Muhammadu Buhari. Yeah, you were trying to take us through the recession time period and, of course, what happened during COVID-19 before we went on that break.
Right. So the much promised change was undermined by, first, the global collapse of commodity prices that brought us the recession of 2016, which the regime did their best to try to cope with. But it was towards the end of that 2016 when the president went for the UN General Meeting. On his way back, he had a stopover in England, and he was there for 3 months, or for more than 3 months, due to health challenges. Perhaps that was the beginning of the trouble that undermined his efforts, to rise up to the challenges presented by the global crisis. It was away for more than 90 days, and things pretty much fell apart in his absence. That a few individuals that were close to him in the base of power, got in between him and the vice president that have been trying to work together to deal with the global crisis, and turn their back against each other pretty much for the rest of their time in office through the first term and indeed through the 2 terms. That was well ahead of the pandemic that broke out in 2020, that put further spanners in the work, and Baba was to suffer a second, health challenge that made him absent from the scene for more than 100 days. So those who wish to assess his legacy have to be mindful of not just the global challenge, but also his health challenges. He was determined, he meant well, he's quite an amiable person. Through it all, he remained a very upright Nigerian leader. He will stand out among his peers when it comes to the matter of uprightness, his patriotism, his wishing his country well. That maybe will serve as an intro to the conversation we want to have. So I agree with the LCC about the external forces, but we also have to face the fact that this is not his first time that he will be in the hospital in London. He was 2 significant occasions for long stretches of time that undermined, his efforts, his ability or capacity to bring the much promised change to look.
All right, that's really a good intro. I must agree with you. PIA was passed after 20 years of dilly-dally, back and forth with regards to it. That's something that the organized private sector and, of course, players in the oil and gas industry have commended. Also, we saw the institution or the initiative around the gauge lines, rail gauge, and all of that. We saw the railway coming back into action and, which actually addressed some challenges with the transport sector. We also saw the second Niger bridge around during his tenure. Many talked about infrastructure development across the board during President Buhari's tenure. I'd like you to react to some of this notable infrastructure.
Well, you should add, for me, importantly, because I also have the opportunity to, if you like, contribute to policy reform conversation. During his time, I was for about 6 years vice chairman of the Technical Committee of the National Council on Privatization. And 4 months before his exit, he made me a member of the Governing Council of the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, which he reconstituted 4 months before he left. So you should add, the work that we did there culminated in the reconstitution of Ministry of Finance Incorporated. So you should also add that to his credit. It might have happened too late, just 4 months to the end of his time. But in place of the tax reform that the present regime is trying to do, we had championed the reconstitution of MOFI. It's not tax reform, it's non-tax revenue reform. We had been pushing it since the recession in 2016. It had been slowed down, by the forces that I had alluded to earlier. But in February 2, 2023, inaugurated MOFI and the Governing Council, which had been in existence since that time. So you should add that to it. PIA, yes. Before PIA, he did the TSA, the Treasury Single Account. It's one of the most important achievements, early on in his regime, his success in bringing the TSA, the Treasury Single Account, into place. PIA passed, but we shouldn't celebrate governments because of the passage of laws, but we should celebrate them because of the implementation of the laws. It was meant to have taken the NNPC to the market. It didn't. And the succeeding regime is yet to take them to the NNPC to the market. And the new board of the NNPC is beginning to kick the can down the road as well, telling us that the earliest they can take the NNPC to the market is 2028. When the first term of President Tinubu would have ended. So when you want to commend regimes, don't commend them for passing laws. You shouldn't commend President Tinubu, for example, for passing the tax laws. We should commend him for outcomes, for concrete changes in our reality that the tax laws bring about. So if you have spent 2 years trying to do tax laws, and now you have passed it, you are postponing the day that it will come into force, we shouldn't commend the president. So we shouldn't commend President Buhari for passing PIA. If he managed to implement it and it changed reality, I'm sorry, the condition in which he left the NNPC left much to be desired. So please, I would hesitate, in commending that effort. We should encourage our presidents to deliver results. We shouldn't congratulate them for making goal attempts. We should congratulate them for scoring the goals.
All right.
Will be my view, on that.
That is well noted. The Anchor Borrower scheme and also agricultural, there were some moves around the agricultural space. I would like to also get your views, what you make of that. Yes, many have had their comments around the Anchor Borrower scheme too, talking about the results of it. Many say it's not what was expected, but I also like you to speak around that rice production, wheat production, and all of that.
We have started by, if you like, recognizing circumstances that might have constrained, in particular, the one I added, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce did not add the health challenges, that place a question mark on the extent to which our dear President Muhammadu Buhari, may so rest in peace, was in charge, after these health episodes. But a few people might have taken charge and taken advantage of, for example, the Anchor Borrowers program, which many considered a catastrophic failure, a fraudulent scheme, And, the regime that succeeded him has twice declared a state of emergency on agriculture, on food. So what are you saying about the Anchor Borrowers program? The so-called rice pyramid have disappeared. So please, let's not begin to try to make mountains out of molehills. He could have achieved if he had not been undermined by those health considerations. I think we should leave it at that and be kind to the memory of a man who will be reminded, for standing out among his peers in uprightness, in personal uprightness. Yankoboro's program was championed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the litany of crisis, crime, that has been associated with the leadership of that regime in the Central Bank, right on that nose of the president. So we are not blaming Jesus for the crimes of Judas, so we can't blame President Buhari for the crimes of the leadership of the Central Bank, or blame President Buhari for the crimes of his accountant general, or for the lady that managed his humanitarian affairs. But the point is that if those people had not undermined his efforts to reform the country, he could have done well, and let's leave it at that and remain very kind to the memory of a very, very humble and amiable leader.
Interesting conversation, I must say. So moving forward, what could be, what could we learn so that we could do better, just like you said? Presidents should not just shoot the shot, they should score the goal. Just like the tax laws implementation, everyone has been talking about it. What are those key things we should take out? The issue of fighting corruption is also something that many talked about, that he stood firm, Treasury single account to make sure that government was accountable, trying to curb financial leakages. What would you also say about that, and what do you think should be the takeout from late president?
Yeah, there is no question that his success in achieving the Treasury single account was remarkable. It's just that one is not happy that agency after agency that approached him to ask to be exempted from the TSA. And some of them, a growing number of them were granted such exemption. You would have wanted a situation where TSA remains TSA, nobody is exempted, but you promised more efficiency in the operation, that if your money goes into the TSA, you shouldn't have any fear that when you need money, you will get it. So people will come and give a lot of excuses why they don't want their money to go into this TSA, so that when they need to spend, they can do so, quite promptly. And general lessons, that other regimes can learn is that pass the law is no achievement. The law that I passed has been implemented and has produced results is the achievement. And for those of us that have watched for 2 years, this tax reform, worried that 2 years have gone and it's all been academic. Now it's been passed. We are told that no implementation until January 2026, which is a year before election. Who wants to start implementing tax reform 12 months before the presidential election? There should be components of those 4 laws that are implementable now to the benefit of Nigerians, even if it's the ones that deal with mere administrative housekeeping, harmonization of taxes or so, implement those, let Nigeria benefit them. 2 years out of 4 years is taking forever, and they're adding another 6 months to it, and then telling us that the year before election is the year that tax reform will happen. Is not politically realistic. So you may not see this, the tax, the implementation may not see the light of the day until 2028 or 2027, after the second term, after the first term. Anyway, so these are lessons, we must learn, and that We should pray for our presidents that God should grant them good health. You cannot blame a man, for setbacks occasioned by ill health. Ever too often, we've seen our presidents being sidelined by ill health. And of course, the running conversation is the tendency by our presidents to go abroad for medical treatment. And that's something that if you are claiming to bring, to reform to the benefit of other Nigerians, if you want to reform to your own benefit first and reform our health system and make sure that our health system works for our presidents and the people around him. Not that you claim to be transforming the health sector, spending money, on the health sector, but it's not good enough for the people who are actually taking the decision to spend the money. We need to do something. These are the lessons that we should learn, from this passage. Nothing that we should blame him for, but things that we should learn lessons from, as Nigerians.
It's a good way to leave it, Dr. Teriba. I must thank you so much, CEO Economic Associates. Thanks for your contributions to this very important topic. I really appreciate this. Do enjoy the rest of your day.